This is a story about scouting. 5 images a year. That's what I tell myself when things are slow. 5 images a year. What do I mean by 5 images a year? Well, I'm glad you asked. My goal is to get 5 images a year that, I'm proud of. Maybe it's that burrowing owl that I sat and watched for hours, or perhaps it's that quirky image of the quail. Definitely that belted kingfisher with the trout. Magical moment. Or it's that simple image of a hawk in that fairy tale lighting. Oh, and we can't forget that cray-cray owl. That was just top 5 experience ever. Perhaps these images mean so much because I can remember who I shared the moment with. I can clearly recall who was standing next to me or patiently sitting on the ground as the moment developed. Yeah, it was cool shots, but much cooler experience. And listen, seriously, most folks, they never know that these are my favorites. Nothing ever comes of the images. Well, of course, I do post them on Instagram, and now they might get a 6-second spot in YouTube, but that's it. No grand prize, no magazine cover, or bound of renown. Just a feeling. Top 5. Anyway, I digress. Back to my point. Every year I discover a new place that has the potential of producing one of those top 5 images. Often it's because a friend tells me about a cool place I should check out, and on occasion, it's a result of countless hours of exploring. I wish I had $1 for every hour I spent driving along old fence lines and wandering through patches of forest. I like to call it scouting. Scouting. Yeah, that makes it sound official. There's nothing real technical about my scouting trips. I make a lot of observations and ask myself a lot of questions. Questions like, I wonder what bird dropped that feather. Or, I wonder if those guys are catching any fish, or better yet, why don't I like fishing? But most of the time I just find myself looking up in the trees. I could say I'm real intentional in my scouting methods, but that's not true. I typically find myself just wandering around looking at flowers and poking sticks into ant piles. Katie, on the other hand, is normally pretty helpful during those scouting trips. Well, usually. Either way, it's time to get focused. My dad once told me, find a water source or a tree line along the edge of a field. Sit there for a while. Be still. You'll see all the birds you want to see. That's proven to be great lifelong advice. However, as most of you know, seeing birds and photographing birds is quite different. I know you're thinking, Josh, you have to see the bird if you want to photograph the bird. I know that, but I see a lot of birds that I don't photograph. It has to be the right conditions, subject, background light. After all, I'm looking for top 5 opportunities. I'm seeing all kinds of opportunities today, perhaps not top 5, but definitely cool stuff. This is stacking up to be one hell of a scouting trip. Oftentimes, when I least expect it, quirky little opportunities present themselves. In these times, I typically shuffle myself around in hopes of capturing something special. But more often than not, that special image eludes me. That's kind of what differentiates a photo outing from a scouting trip. Now, since we're all friends, I feel like this is a good time to confess a secret. As much as I love photographing birds, videoing these magical experiences has become much more rewarding. I often heard accomplished photographers stress the importance of telling a story with your images. I get that. It's important, and some folks do a great job with it. However, prior to video, nearly all of my images were nothing more than a moment in what was typically a much more meaningful occasion. For instance, had I not videoed this little scouting trip, there's a good chance that all I'd have to show for this day was a few images of turkeys on a rock bed or some crappy image of a waxwing against a gray sky. Or worse yet, nothing at all. Which brings me to my point. Scouting trips typically don't make the top 5. Hell, trips like this, it's likely I'll delete every image. And if that's the case, I'd just be another guy that posted his best images on a webpage or Instagram. And the fact is, I am just another guy. I'm a guy that has bad days and oftentimes bad months or even years. And that's the real story. And, if I'm lucky, amongst those bad years, every now and then, I'll get to experience one of those top 5 moments. And I'll share it with you. But today, just another scouting trip.